From a fun tale about one man's dream of space travel to the story of how one family's loss helped save the lives of 5 others, we go to the winner of Best Feature Reporting for Large Market TV, KOMO-TV Seattle. Chris was the one person killed during the 2001 Mardi Gras riots in Seattle. He was 20 years old, a good Samaritan trying to protect a woman from an angry mob. The day after Chris died, KOMO-TV's reporter John Sharifi had the unenviable task of knocking on the family's door. The house was filled with sadness. That was expected. But there was also joy because Chris's mom had just learned that a Seattle man would be receiving Chris's heart. A year later, KOMO-TV caught up with that man, who now has the heart of a hero. In this piece entitled Gifts of Life, Chris's Legacy, KOMO-TV also found the man who breathes with Chris's lungs, the woman who has his pancreas, and the 2 people who are walking around with Chris's kidneys. They're all alive and well because of Chris's gifts of life.
But I have lots of photos of my son. I found soccer pictures and everything, so yeah, he's right here. That's him. I found this picture and I went, oh, I love this. I just love this.
Out of all the pictures of Chris Kime, this one is his mom's favorite.
This is the picture we took. This is the day he came home from the hospital. It's an Instamatic. I found it. Look how tiny he was.
Look at the joy, the gift of life. That gift, 20 years later, is taken away when the night news cameras capture the Mardi Gras crowds erupting in violence. Chris Kime is carried away, beaten, unconscious. Within hours, he will die.
It's terrible. He didn't deserve it. He didn't. It's not right at all. For trying to help somebody, this is what he gets. For trying to help somebody, it's not right.
I watched it on TV, and I was just incensed that this could happen in Seattle.
Rick Allison couldn't take his eyes off the television set.
And the police are there, and it still happens. I knew about Chris Kime.
That night, 1 year ago, Larry Levinson,
I'm sitting there watching it,
learned about a young man
I watched him die.
trying to save a woman's life from the angry mob, someone he didn't even know.
How do you beat that?
Levinson calls Chris Kime a hero for what he did that night, for what he continues to do to this day.
Thank you.
The morning after the transplant, the doctor sat there, he put his hand on my foot and he says, Ray, you received a kidney from a 20-year-old male that died of a head trauma. We went, Chris, the kid that was in the news, it's got to be.
And it was.
It's about 8 inches long, right there. Yeah. The appendix goes there, kidney sets here. Jesse's is on her right side, mine's on the left.
Jesse?
I didn't know how much longer I could go.
Is Jesse Bettis, a Boeing worker who received Chris Kime's other kidney.
That first morning I woke up and they said, it's working, you don't have to do dialysis. And I went, oh, yahoo!
You're no longer a diabetic?
I'm no longer diabetic. I have a working pancreas.
Chris's pancreas. Martha French is an assistant attorney general who'd been a diabetic 25 years.
Well, it's pretty bad, all right.
Remember Rick? He'd been watching news coverage of the Mardi Gras riots. What we didn't tell you is that Rick was dying.
I'd be dead now.
If it wasn't for Chris Kime.
And in fact, they are. They're excellent lungs.
How do you know?
I breathe with them.
In the same hospital down the hall,
Looks like a pretty good batch.
Larry Levinson had just about run out of time.
And the next morning, about 3 o'clock, one of my favorite nurses came bouncing in and said, do you love me? And I said, you know I do. And she said, well, how about a heart then? I said, I'll take it. How you guys doing? I woke up again this morning. I like.
Larry now has a heart of a hero.
I sure do. You bet.
And a new beginning. When Chris's mom first met Larry Levinson, she did what any mother would do.
And the first thing she wanted to do is listen to Chris's heart.
She put her ear to it.
A year later, tears have been replaced with laughter. Larry, Rick, Martha, Ray, and Jesse are now part of the Kime family.
They sure act like they're your family.
They're a great bunch of people. Yeah.
Who get together as often as they can
We do have a good time.
to remind each other why they're still alive.
We don't have
right.
anything to run past us anyway.
Left kidney, right kidney, pancreas, lungs, heart, and a wife.
And it's an incredible feeling, and to see them and how good they're doing and how healthy they are.
Thanks to a young man
How do you feel now?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
who left behind
This isn't just a lung or a set of lungs. These are Christopher Kime's lungs.
I'm doing great.
left behind something no one could take from him, even when someone took his life. That gift
I feel awesome. I guess in one word, that's the way I could explain it.
to help others live.
You got to say that about living. It's very special.
I lived in England 7 years.
I know that he's looking down on us today. Just, you know, this is really cool.
In Seattle, John Sharifi, Como 4 News.
In this KOMO TV Seattle winner, the reporter was allowed the necessary on-air time to tell the story and build emotion, as revealed in our behind-the-scenes look at this making of a Murrow.
I found this picture and I went, oh, I love this. I just love this.
When you win a National Edward R. Murrow Award, everyone wants to take credit. The photographer, the editor,
It was the editing that made the story great.
the reporter.
The writing is what made the story. My writing.
They're kidding, of course. We all know it takes a team, a talented team bubbling with ideas and a compelling story to tell. The judges were impressed with the depth of this story.
It had emotion, it had powerful writing, it had powerful video, and in the end it was just a very well-crafted piece of TV.
It's terrible. He didn't deserve it. He didn't. It's not right at all. For trying to help somebody, this is what he gets. For trying to help somebody, it's not right.
Not right. Maybe that's what resonated with viewers, how unfair it all seemed. This story about Chris Kime, who would give the gifts of life to others.
We caught up with all of the people who received Chris's organs.
Rick Allison, Larry Levinson, Ray Page, Jesse Bettis, Martha French. They're all walking around with Chris's organs. Because of privacy issues, you rarely get to interview organ recipients, but we did. Part luck and a whole lot of persistence from reporter John Sharifi, who knew he had the gems, but how should he arrange them?
Now the question for me as a storyteller is, when do I reveal that part of the story, that this is a story about the gifts of life? Now, I could mention it at the beginning, say something like Larry Levinson, who has the heart of a hero. But fortunately, I didn't have to do that. The producers gave me more time than the standard minute 30, 2 minutes. And so I was able to reveal that amazing moment later in the story.
And it wasn't until this moment in the piece,
The morning after the transplant, the doctor
2 minutes, 25 seconds into the story, that viewers realize what this story is all about.
we went, Chris, the kid that was in the news, it's got to be.
That was something where viewers didn't see it coming, and it just hits him right over the head.
News director Jim Tellis reminds us that compelling features have memorable moments. The moment Como4's John Sharifi asks a simple question is one of those moments. Notice what editor Darren Tegman does after this soundbite.
And the first thing she wanted to do is listen to Chris's heart.
She put her ear to it.
A year later, tears have been replaced with laughter.
And my initial thing was I wanted to get some sort of movement out of him, and so I waited until he wiped a tear from his eye. I thought that was kind of that's really what I was playing for. And then, but it just went on a little bit longer, and then it became a question of how do I get out of it. So it needed some sort of sound to sort of ease you out of that moment.
When I saw what the editor did at that moment, I said, yes, incredible. I wasn't expecting it. The fact that he let that shot play for as long as he did draws you in. Now let's talk about what the photographer did.
We had limited file footage, but Doug Pigsley took that footage and shot it on a monitor. It gave a different look and feel. It created more visual possibilities.
We just had really one shot of the friends of Chris that were helping him as they were leaving the area. So I'd got different angles, close-ups, wide shots. I'd moved around. I just did a bunch of things to help out the editor as much as I could.
Pacing.
How do you feel now?
Fantastic.
Giving the story a rhythm, hopefully just like this story you're watching. What reporter John Sharifi did in this feature is break up his tracks with sound.
I always say never too much track, never too much sound, in order to keep the pace going.
I watched it on TV, and I was just incensed that this could happen in Seattle.
Rick Allison couldn't take his eyes off the television set.
And the police are there, and it still happens. I knew about Chris Kime.
That night, 1 year ago, Larry Levinson
I'm sitting there watching it.
Learned about a young man.
I watched him die.
Trying to save a woman's life from the angry mob, someone he didn't even know.
How do you beat that?
Levinson calls Chris Kime a hero for what he did that night, for what he continues to do to this day.
Okay, just one more thing. If this story is 1:45, it's not the same story.
The rule in this newsroom is if a story needs time to breathe, we're going to give it time to breathe. And this one was one that we felt that if we cut it down, it wouldn't be the same story that it turned out to be.
A feature story that ran just over 6 minutes, by the way, honored with the 2003 National Edward R. Murrow Award.